Hey all, this is Wess. Welcome to the show. Today I'm doing something a little different. I've got my sketchpad up and I'm in this video outside drawing this this bird bath. I'm drawing it in real life and the reference photo is on the left side of the screen. I'm not looking at the reference photo, so the angle is slightly different in my drawing, but I just thought I'd talk through a drawing. It's kind of a sketch. It's not a full finished drawing, if you make that distinction. Anyway, so the main subject is the bird bath, and so that's generally what I would start with when I'm doing a sketch or a drawing is mapping out where the main part of the painting is going to go, the main subject matter, and how it's going to fill the canvas. And I've also kept the reference photo up in this video for anyone wanting to draw along with me. All you need is a pencil, a paper, and an eraser. You guys, you can see I'm using a normal number 2 pencil. Works just fine. Starting off with the kind of the stem part of the bird bath, the pedestal part, and getting the angles right to the left and to the right, and how it connects down below. The biggest key to good drawing, sketching, painting, any kind of observational, art, observational recording of what you're seeing, is the observation, is looking closely and really focusing on what you're seeing and trying to get that onto the page, not in what you think the thing looks like in your head. I could very rapidly draw a bird bath, but it wouldn't necessarily look exactly like this bird bath. Even with much observation, it's not going to look exact, but we do our best. So I'm also kind of, as I'm going, I'm kind of putting in other elements like the fence line. You can't see it well in the photo, but I can kind of see it from my angle. When I was drawing this, there's kind of the bottom of the fence going halfway up the pedestal part of the bird bath, so I wanted to fill that in. Also got an eraser, kind of erasing as I go as well. I never was much of a sketchbook keeper. I took art in, I think, a class in junior high and then throughout high school. And we always had to have a sketchbook, and I was never good at it. I kind of, I guess, didn't see the point in keeping a sketchbook. I'd always cram at the last day, when it was due. I would go through and get out as many ideas as I can just to fill up as much as I could to show my work, even though we were supposed to be doing it, daily or a regular schedule at least. So sketching is not something that comes naturally to me, and I've never been good at it. So here I'm kind of trying to figure out the width of the top part, the bowl part of the fountain, by seeing where the angle goes between the base and the outer edge of the bowl. That's one way to kind of line things up, is to kind of imagine a line going from one to the other and trying to visualize what that would look like, maybe even as a triangle there, going from the center line of the pedestal to the outermost edge of the fountain bowl down to the base. Then once I found that outer edge, now I'm kind of working at how that curve is in the bowl. And even as I was doing it, I realized, there's actually several layers, because you can see just underneath the lip of the fountain there's the underside of the bowl. So I had to figure out how that connected as well, which is something I wouldn't have even thought of had I not been looking at the thing and observing exactly how it's constructed and how it's sitting in the landscape. After this video, I plan to do a painting of this same image of the bird bath. I figure it'd be maybe informative in some way. In fact, I think I'm just going to fast forward through this a little bit, so you'll watch me do it quicker. I chose this photo, by the way, for a couple of reasons. First, it seems like something easy to draw at first thought, a birdbath. I mean, it's just got at most 3 components, right? You've got the top part, you got the stand, you got the base of it. But when you realize, first of all, there's all these plants around it, it's just kind of an amorphous greenery, kind of filling the rest of the photo here. So that creates a problem. And as you'll see, I mean, I'm not saying I'm the best at it. I'm just showing how I would kind of tackle that and kind of focusing on the major aspects of the greenery. The elephant ears at the bottom that are pretty obvious and take up a lot of space by themselves. And then, just the overall directionality and curves of the plant to the left. And the ginger plants behind and to the right are pretty, primary in the photograph. So I kind of focused on those major elements and let the rest take care of itself. Here I'm just finding the way those plants are growing in the background, looping over in the curves, the way they grow. In the grand scheme of things, these elements aren't important, but the idea is that this is an exercise to observe the scene and get as many things correct as you can. Some of it, basically, when you see my pencil moving fast, that's me kind of not caring as much about observing. I mean, I may be getting the right direction of the plants and where they're growing, but I'm not really getting the details when I do that. And I do that, here and there, but for the most part, I try to capture as much as I can correctly. Again, this is meant to be an exercise of observation. And the observation never stops. After I finished the drawing and editing the video, I was kind of couldn't help but observe how off I was. Like when you're focused on observing what you're seeing, and getting it on the page, you are focused a lot of times on the details and getting those right. But stepping out of that role and looking at the finished product, I couldn't help but notice first that I got the base not entirely wrong, but just wrong. You can see it's kind of like it's just a different shape than what you're seeing in the photo. And the second thing I realized after I was finished that I didn't, I ended up shading a lot of the darker places in the image, but I didn't shade any of the fountain itself, which is fine. It's just, but it was just something I noticed that I didn't even realize at the time. I wasn't really thinking of the image as a whole. I was kind of really focused on the particulars, the details. And I am struggling a little more at this point, trying to decide what plants to leave in and what plants to ignore. You can't really reasonably draw everything that you're seeing onto the paper. You technically can. It would just take a long time. It wouldn't be worth the effort, in my opinion. There's things called cameras that'll do that for you. You don't have to spend all that time to get it exact. But the idea is to use your judgment in picking out the things that you want to include in your drawing and what things to leave out. Sometimes a certain shape will be obvious when you're looking at it, but if you were to draw it as is, it would not come across correctly. So you have to make those calls, those judgment calls. I've had at this point more experience painting than drawing, and I know in those times, like in these times, looking at these details of the plants growing in the garden here, my go-to is to kind of create a texture basically with the paints. I might do some kind of line work, squiggly lines, just to create some kind of something in those areas. Kind of indistinct lines that just kind of indicate or suggest that there's things going on in those spots. And I do some of that here, I'm sure, but I'm probably not as skilled with the pencil as I am with the paintbrush. And with that, that just about does it. I'll show you the final drawing. With that, I appreciate you all stopping by. I have plans to do this in painting, probably next, and I've also got plans. My son, who's turning 13 this year, wants to do a video with me, and I think we'll try it out where I'll be the teacher and he'll be the student. I don't know if we'll start with drawing or painting, but we'll do something like that. I think that'll be fun to watch and a little more instructional, perhaps, for those of you wanting that. But thanks for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this. Click like at the bottom. Subscribe to the channel to get an alert when I put up new videos, and leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions for future paintings or drawings or other projects. And thanks again. Bye.